So during the last stream, I was mentioning that for New York Toy Fair around that time, I was expecting the Hiya Toys would come out with a fully finished Kiryu figure. And it turns out Hiya Toys is not actually going to be at New York Toy Fair this year, but they did end up debuting their finished Exquisite Basic Kiryu figure. So here he is, and yeah, right off the bat, he looks fantastic. He's got all of his equipment, a nice metallic sheen. I know some people were wondering if on the prototype perhaps the toes were articulated. So I guess that is a possibility, maybe. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say here. He looks great. The chest flap opens up. He's got his blades. This is a pretty cool pose, actually. And then just moving along when we get to the loadout. Here's the loadout, right? So here you have your standard Kiryu. He's got the jet thrusters, some alternate hands there, the blades, the wrist mazers with the connecting tubes, and then the backpack. Stands 7.7 inches tall, so he's quite tall. He's quite a large figure. I think Monster X might be a little bit taller to the very top of his sculpt, but Kiryu is going to be one of the taller, I guess, standard-ish figures here in the line. So, I mean, looks fantastic, right? And then you find out that the price tag is $100 US, and then with the tariff included, $118 US. So it's been really interesting watching the difference between, let's say, I don't want to say like the mainstream reception, but like the general audiences on Instagram, right? Do not delay this figure. We know how it's good now. Like, it's good now. I used to pray for times like this. Looks great. You know, finally, Kiryu, oh my god, like, everybody's super stoked on this. Nobody's bringing up the price in at least the top few comments, the ones that come to the top. But on some of, like, the social groups that I follow on Discord, like, people are melting down over this price tag, $100 US. And hey, I'm there with you. I am actually quite shocked to see this price tag. I thought that maybe with time, we would get there slowly. Like, we're starting to see it with Frostbite Shimo a little bit. But this sudden leap from, what's a standard, like the Burning Godzilla, I think was the last classic Toho. That was $60 US. This is 100 now. Oh, man. So, anyway, here, let's just take a look at some of the specs, and then we're going to talk about that price tag a little bit more. Standing, 19.5 centimeters tall, metallic paint applications, chest can open. Okay, thigh armor panels allow the leg. Okay, so those are the leg thrusters. Cool, fine. All the accessories. Yada, yada, yada. Q1 2027. Okay, maybe. Right, maybe. It's always a little pinch of salt. If you move over to the website, there's nothing. It's the same content, right? $100 US, 100. Actually, does that price tag line up? 180? Yeah, it does line up. I was thinking maybe there's going to be, you know, die cast in the figure, something like that. But at first glance, the thing that seems to be driving up the price is the fact that he's a larger figure and packed with accessories. Okay, so let's talk this through a little bit more. So, okay, we'll close the book on it. Looks fantastic. I think we can all agree he looks great. Okay, if this figure was closer to the normal standard point, we could cut the video there. Done, right? But let's talk about this price a little bit more. Okay, I really don't know. There's nothing firmly for me to grasp on. So, like, you could say maybe that the addition of these accessories along with the larger figure is driving up the price. Okay, well, Monster X was not more than $60, and he's a larger figure. And then would you want to say that the $40 comes from these accessories? Well, if you look at these Contra figures that Hiya also does, this is Exquisite Basic. Okay, these were solicited, I believe, a year ago, and they've just come out. Actually, it seems like they were solicited a little bit longer than that. But these guys are like the $50 mark, and these guys are loaded with accessories too. All kinds of stuff. This guy over here, and they share some of the tooling, sure, but there's also a lot of unique pieces going on here. So I'm not really convinced that it's the accessories that are driving up this price point. Now, there are a couple of crackpot theories that I have, okay? And let me just get it out there in the open. I'm not saying these are true. In fact, I'm saying that these are probably wrong. Let me just say that. These are probably wrong, but I'm just trying to think it through a little bit, and there are two things that I'm thinking of. One has to do with their recent factory output. Like Hiya, we're like a week into February, and Hiya's 5th release is done for the year. Like Battle Damage King Ghidorah 91 is on the way, right? Like we're gonna get it. I've done 4 reviews already this year, and now the 5th release is coming. So it seems like things are happening. I've long suspected that the reason Hiya has been able to bring their price points down so much is that they're using government subsidized factories. I expect that everybody wants their cheap goods, and everybody wants to use government subsidized factories, and so it's hard to find. You have to basically fight for time to get into the factory. Again, crackpot theory. This is just me tinfoil hatting. I suspect that this price tag could be Hiya moving away from a government subsidized factory to something that will reliably get their figures out on time. Maybe that might be happening. Okay, that might be happening. So then the question is, like, if this was let's say a $70 figure, potentially 6 months, up to 6 months late, maybe even up to 12 months late, versus a $100 figure that's going to be on time, Q1 2027. I feel like with all the retail partners and stuff, all the retail partners, like the supply chains that Hiya is now working with directly themselves, right? They're not working through a distributor anymore. Like, they're going to have to keep those people happy. And so perhaps moving toward a factory that they know they can get a reliable schedule from, perhaps that just means the price of the figures has to come up now. I don't know. Again, I'm just throwing ideas out there. My next crackpot theory, okay, and this is the one I really don't think it's this, but it could be. Okay, and for this, I'm actually going to go over to Mondo's website for a second. So Mondo's been producing Ghostbusters action figures. Now, Ghostbusters is owned by Hasbro. Hasbro has licenses out to Mondo. These are 1/12 scale figures, like 6 inches tall, right, roughly, give or take. But you'll notice the price tag, $101 US. Like, that's so much money for a 6-inch figure of a humanoid. Like, he's got a lot of accessories, sure, but $100, that's a lot. There have been theories, and the way that Mondo has sort of talked around it, that this price tag is Hasbro, is being basically enforced by Hasbro. They're saying, look, like, you can play with the license, but we're not going to let you sell figures at a price that's going to conflict with the stuff that we're trying to sell. I don't know how true that is, and if you think it through a lot, like, I'm not sure that it makes the most sense from a business perspective. But that does seem to be like where the conversation is headed, that Hasbro is like artificially forced these companies to make their prices a little bit higher. There are thoughts that I have that perhaps Toho is going to be forcing Hiya closer to the price point of its other licensors, or licensees, I guess. So closer to Super 7, closer to Tamashii Nations. Again, crackpot theory. I don't think that this is what's actually happening, but it could be, right? Because if you have one licensee coming in and basically undercutting the others, and the others just simply cannot get down to the same price point, then your other licensees might come and say, like, hey, what the hell? You know, this one company is basically taking all the skin of the game, and Toho might have the power to come back and say, no, this is the price point that you have to abide by now. We'll have to see. I really don't think that that's the case, but it could be. It could be, and we should be prepared for that to be the case. So to me, the best thing that we can do really is wait. Based on the next figure that comes out and what that price point is going to be, I think that it will tell us whether Kiryu here is an anomaly, something that, you know, just for some reason or another, this one is going to be expensive, but the rest of the line is not. Or if this is going to be the standard price point moving forward. If it is, I mean, $100 for a Kiryu that's a little bit bigger with accessories. I mean, what's Godzilla gonna look like? Maybe 75 US dollars, which is a decent hike above the $60 that Burning Godzilla is. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to look for a pattern in the pricing. And I would look for, like, well, no, I was going to say, like, we should look at the pricing for something new and not a repaint, but repaints do tend to hit the same price tag as everything else that's going on. So, again, we'll have to wait. Whenever the next Toho release is, we'll have to see what the price looks like in comparison to Kiryu. Maybe it's an anomaly. Maybe it's something like what happened with Mechagodzilla 2. If anybody remembers, Mechagodzilla 2 came out, and I think the price tag was $70 US at the time, and we were all like, what the heck? Why is it so much? And then Hiya later came out and said, actually, that it's $10 higher than it was supposed to be. Which, okay, then they went back and then they changed it. So maybe something similar is going to be happening here. Who knows? Who knows? This is a big deal. Like, I would never have thought that the price of a Hiya figure would have exceeded the price of a Super 7 Ultimates figure. I did not expect that to happen. And like, oh my god, before somebody's already fucking typing away. Ultimates and Nicktoons Basic are very different lines, okay? So you can get one and not get the other. It's fine. I just, there's something weird about this. Well, and really, we'll just have to wait. So I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. I mean, this seems to be like a great Kiryu figure for something that Tamashii Nations doesn't really seem too keen on issuing or reissuing that often, because you don't want to, you know, plummet the market value for these types of things. But it looks like Hiya's going to come in and bring in their own thing and do what looks like a good job. Like, it looks like a solid figure. Looks great. Yeah. So let me know what your thoughts are. What do you think of this $100 price tag? Do you have any crackpot theories as to what you think is going on? I know someone's just going to be like, oh, they're just doing Tamashii Nation's greed. And they might be. Like, that just might be the thing. They're like, hey, we can go toe-to-toe with Tamashii Nations as long as we're a little bit less, then we can get as much money as we want. Could be. I don't find that to be a particularly satisfying answer. And hopefully, going to San Diego later this year, I'd like to get some answers for it, right? If there is diecast in that figure, that might expand. Well, there'd have to be a lot of diecast, I think. But yeah, it'd be good to know what's going on here. And I'm sure I'll get like some PR friendly answer, right? It's like, oh, to make sure we uphold the same quality of standards, we have to increase the prices. Like, I'm fully expecting that. Okay, folks, that's gonna be it for me. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. And New York Toy Fair is next weekend. Yeah, so Hiya's not going to be there, but maybe they'll debut a MonsterVerse product in timing with New York. Super 7's going to be there. They're going to have some cool stuff, and maybe Tamashii Nations will have something to show off. Who knows? Anyway, see you later.